The wooden jewelry box was old, its corners darkened by years of use. Its gold clasp clicked open with a soft snap. Amina's breath caught in her throat as she lifted the lid. Instead of her mother's treasured gold bangles or coral beads, two round, wet objects rolled into view. They were not gems. They were not pearls. They were human eyes. They stared straight at her, unblinking, alive, and following her every movement. Her hands trembled so violently she nearly dropped the box. The eyes seemed to glisten with an eerie light, and a faint whisper hissed from inside the box, as if the eyes could speak. Amina's knees weakened. She wanted to scream, to slam the box shut and run, but the eyes blinked, slowly, and a single tear rolled down one. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. The village of Ajip was a place where the morning air smelled of fresh palm oil frying in iron pots, and the sound of pestles pounding yam echoed like a heartbeat. Children ran barefoot on sandy paths, chasing each other through narrow alleyways. Women wore brightly patterned wrappers, their laughter carrying over the fences made of woven palm fronds. Men gathered under the shade of the big irako tree, talking about the price of cassava and the latest news from the neighboring towns. Amina, at 14, was known as the quiet one. She was slim, with dark skin that glowed in the evening sun and big eyes that always seemed to be thinking. Her mother, Mama Zainab, was one of the best bead makers in Ajip. She could take tiny coral beads and string them into necklaces fit for a queen. Her work was sought after for weddings, naming ceremonies, and even for the village chief's coronation. Amina's life was simple. In the mornings, she fetched water from the stream with her best friend, Saad. In the afternoons, she helped her mother sort beads by color and shine. And in the evenings, she loved to sit by the fire and listen to the elders tell folk tales. Life in Ajip was guided by one simple value: family honor. Every child knew that your family's name was the most precious thing you could protect. It was worth more than gold, more than land, even more than life itself. Amina often dreamed of learning her mother's trade, of one day inheriting her workshop and the beautiful wooden jewelry box that Mama Zainab kept on a high shelf. The box was small, with brass hinges and a strange, faded carving of an eye at the center. Amina had never seen what was inside. Mama Zainab had told her it contained the heart of the family's blessing, something that could only be passed down when the time was right. That morning, the day everything began, the air was unusually still. No goats bleated, no chickens clucked. Even the wind seemed to be holding its breath. Amina was sweeping the front yard when she noticed Mama Zainab speaking in low tones to an old man in a red cap. His eyes were clouded, and he leaned heavily on a carved walking stick. "A storm is coming," the old man said, his voice trembling. "Guard the box well, Zainab. What it holds is not just for beauty, it holds a life." Amina had never seen her mother look so serious. She nodded at the old man, then quickly ushered him away before Amina could ask any questions. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Amina couldn't sleep. The image of the jewelry box kept flashing in her mind. She heard her mother's words to the old man. "It holds a life." What did that mean? How could jewelry hold a life? She told herself she would never dare open it. But deep inside, something had already been decided. The next day, a small problem disturbed the peace of the village. Someone had stolen 2 hens from Babate's coop. The whole village gossiped about it, but Amina barely listened. Her thoughts were fixed on the jewelry box. By evening, when her mother stepped out to deliver a necklace to a customer, the house felt different. Too quiet, too empty. Amina's eyes moved toward the shelf where the box sat. She hesitated, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her ears. She reached for it. The wood felt warm under her fingers, almost like it was alive. She ran her thumb over the strange carved eye at the center. The brass clasp was cool, smooth, and so easy to open. She heard the sound of the clasp clicking. She lifted the lid. At first, she thought she was looking at 2 large beads, but then they blinked. She gasped and stumbled backward, the box still in her hands. The human eyes stared back at her, and for a moment she could swear they belonged to someone who knew her. One of the eyes rolled slightly, as though following her movement. Then a whisper, soft, dry, like the rustle of leaves, escaped from the box. Amina! Her blood turned cold. Before she could move, before she could even scream, the front door creaked open. Someone was coming inside. Amina's hands shook so much she almost dropped the jewelry box. The whisper of her name still rang in her ears, like the echo of a dream she wished she could forget. The door opened wider, and her mother stepped inside, balancing a small bundle of beadwork wrapped in cloth. Amina quickly slammed the box shut and shoved it behind her back. She tried to steady her breathing, but her chest rose and fell too fast. Mama Zainab's sharp eyes scanned her daughter's face. "Why are you standing there like a thief caught in the act?" she asked, setting the bundle down on the table. I was just..." Amina's voice trailed off. Her lips felt dry. Her mother's gaze flicked to the shelf where the jewelry box used to sit. Then to Amina's trembling hands. Her face darkened. "You touched it, didn't you?" Amina froze. Mama Zainab stepped closer, her voice low and tight. "Tell me you did not open my box." Amina swallowed hard, her mind racing. She thought of lying, but the memory of those eyes staring back at her burned in her mind. "Mama, there are eyes in it," she blurted out. Her mother's whole body stiffened. For a moment she said nothing. Then she grabbed Amina's wrist and pulled her toward the back room. "You foolish child," she hissed. "You have done what should never be done. Now the bond is broken." Amina's fear deepened. Whose eyes are they? Why are they in there? But Mama Zainab didn't answer. She locked the box in a wooden chest and pushed it under the bed. Her hands shook as she muttered words in a language Amina didn't fully understand, the old tongue of their ancestors. By morning, news had spread across a jeep that something strange had happened during the night. The hens that were stolen the day before had been found, dead, with their eyes missing. Baba Tay, the owner of the hens, told everyone in the village square that it was the work of a jogan, dark spirits who stole life through the eyes. The elders nodded gravely, for it was an old warning in the village. If an ajogan took your eyes, your spirit would be trapped forever. Amina listened from the crowd, her skin prickling. She thought of the human eyes in her mother's box. Could they have belonged to someone who was still alive? That night, her mother sat her down and spoke in a low voice. "Those eyes belonged to your grandmother Aisha. When she died, her spirit did not pass on. A jealous neighbor used dark magic to trap her soul inside her eyes. I have kept them safe for years, waiting for the right time to break the curse." Amina's mouth fell open. "So, the eyes can still see?" "Yes," her mother said. "And if they have spoken to you, it means the curse is weakening. But now that you have opened the box before the time, the ajogan will come for them. And for us." The words sank into Amina's chest like a stone. Later that night, as she lay awake on her mat, she heard it, a faint scratching at the window like fingernails on wood. Then a whisper not from inside the room, but from outside. "Amina, bring me the eyes." Her breath caught. The voice was not her grandmother's. She sat frozen, the sound growing louder, until it felt as if the whisper was crawling along the walls. Suddenly, the window rattled, and something dark began to slip through the gaps in the wooden frame. The thing forcing its way through the window was not shaped like a person. It was a shadow, thick and black, but it moved as though it had bones and muscles hidden inside. Amina's body locked with fear. The shadow stretched long fingers across the wall, each one ending in claws that scraped the mud surface. "Amina!" It hissed again, the voice deep and strange, as if it came from the bottom of a well. "Bring me the eyes, and I will let your mother live." Her heart pounded. "Who are you?" she whispered. The shadow's face slowly formed from the darkness, a face without eyes. Just empty sockets, blacker than night. She knew instantly. This was the ajogan. The window creaked under its weight, wood splintering as it pushed harder. Amina leapt from her mat and ran to the next room, her bare feet slapping the floor. "Mama! Mama!" she cried. Mama Zainab burst out from her room holding a small gourd filled with palm oil and cowrie shells. Her eyes widened when she saw the shadow pressing through the window. "Stay back," she shouted, raising the gourd. She sprinkled the oil across the doorframe and muttered the same ancient words Amina had heard before. The shadow hissed and drew back, smoke rising from its form where the oil touched. But before it withdrew completely, it spoke again. "The girl has touched the box. She belongs to me now." Then it slipped away into the night. Amina clung to her mother. "It wants the eyes," she said, her voice trembling. "It said it would kill you." Her mother's jaw tightened. "It will kill us both if we do nothing. We must take the eyes to the Elder of the Hills. Only he can finish what I began." The Elder of the Hills lived far beyond Egypt, past the river where crocodiles swam, through the dark palm forest, and up into the rocky hills. Few people dared travel there, not because of the distance, but because of the spirits said to guard the path. The next morning, the two of them packed food, a calabash of water, and the wooden jewelry box wrapped tightly in cloth. Before leaving, Mama Zainab knelt before the family shrine and prayed. As they walked through the village, people stopped and stared. Whispers followed them, not about the stolen hens anymore, but about the shadow that had been seen sliding between houses in the night. By midday, they reached the edge of the river. The water moved slow, but the surface swirled in strange patterns, as if something beneath was waiting. "We must cross before sunset," Mama Zainab said. They stepped into the shallow part first, their skirts dragging in the cool water. Halfway across, Amina felt something brush her leg. She gasped and looked down. Nothing. Then, out of nowhere, a massive crocodile head rose from the water, eyes glinting like polished stones. It opened its mouth, revealing teeth like rows of daggers, and slid toward them. Mama Zainab grabbed Amina's arm and shoved her toward the far bank. "Run!" she shouted. But as Amina stumbled forward, the crocodile's tail whipped the water, sending a huge wave crashing over her head. She slipped, the jewelry box tearing from her grasp and floating toward the creature's gaping mouth. The crocodile lunged. The water closed over Amina's head, cold and heavy, swallowing the sound of her mother's shouting. Her eyes burned as she searched for the jewelry box, but all she could see was murky green water and flashes of sunlight from above. Then there it was. The cloth wrapping had loosened, and the wooden box was spinning in the current, drifting closer to the crocodile's jagged teeth. Amina kicked hard, her chest screaming for air. She stretched out her arm, fingertips brushing the box, when the crocodile surged forward, jaws snapping shut with a sound like breaking wood. Instinct took over. Amina grabbed a sharp rock from the riverbed and slammed it into the creature's snout. The crocodile thrashed, releasing the box for just a heartbeat. She snatched it, hugged it to her chest and kicked upward. She broke the surface, gasping. Mama Zainab was waist-deep in the water, her arms outstretched. "Come!" Amina swam hard toward her, but the crocodile wasn't done. It charged again, water churning around it. Mama Zainab pulled a small leather pouch from her waist and hurled it into the water. When it hit, the water hissed and bubbled as if it had touched hot oil. The crocodile roared, a deep, horrible sound, and sank beneath the surface, vanishing into the depths. They scrambled onto the far bank, soaked and shivering. Amina clutched the jewelry box like it was part of her body. "That," her mother said between breaths, "was your first warning. The journey will not be easy. The spirits will not let us pass without testing us." Amina's legs trembled, but something had changed inside her. For the first time, she felt she wasn't just following her mother. She was protecting something too. They pressed on, their wet clothes drying under the late afternoon sun. The forest ahead loomed dark, the thick palm fronds blocking most of the light. Birds called in strange, high-pitched tones, and the air smelled of damp earth and old leaves. By nightfall they were deep inside the forest. They made a small fire and sat close to it, eating roasted plantain from a leaf. As Amina chewed, she thought she heard footsteps in the distance. Slow, deliberate. She froze and glanced at her mother. Mama Zainab's eyes narrowed. She put a finger to her lips. The footsteps came closer. Out of the shadows stepped a man dressed in a patched green cloak, his head wrapped in a faded scarf. His skin was pale, almost gray, and his smile was wide but strange. "Travelers," he said in a voice like silk, "you have entered the forest of whispers. Nothing moves here without my blessing." Amina instinctively hugged the jewelry box to her chest. The man's eyes flicked toward it, and his smile widened. "I can guide you," he said. "But in return you must give me what you carry." "No," Mama Zainab said firmly. The man's face darkened, and his voice dropped lower. "If you do not give it to me, you will not leave this forest alive." Then, as if the trees themselves obeyed him, the branches around them began to twist and curl, forming a wall of living wood. The fire sputtered as the forest closed in. The twisting branches closed in like the jaws of a trap. Leaves rustled without wind, and the man in the patched green cloak stepped closer, his smile stretching too wide for his face. Mama Zainab rose to her feet, her voice calm but firm. "We are on a journey to see the elder of the hills. Step aside." The man chuckled, the sound dry and sharp like cracking twigs. "The elder? He will tell you nothing you do not already fear. Give me the box, and I will tell you its truth." Amina's heart pounded. The man's gaze felt like a hook pulling at her. She clutched the jewelry box tighter, but his words gnawed at her curiosity. What truth did he mean? "You can't trust him," Mama Zainab warned, stepping in front of her daughter. But the man's eyes locked onto Amina's. "Child, did your mother tell you that the eyes in that box still belong to someone living?" Amina froze. "Someone living?" The man's grin widened. "Not just living, trapped. Every day they are in that box, their body grows weaker. And the one who trapped them is closer to you than you think." Amina turned to her mother. "Mama, is this true?" Her mother's lips pressed into a thin line. "Don't listen to him." But the hesitation in her voice told Amina everything. The man wasn't lying. The branches tightened, their sharp ends pointing toward them. "Give it to me," the man demanded, his voice suddenly harsh. "If I take the eyes, I can return them to their rightful owner before it's too late. The elder is too slow. The Ajogan will find you first." Amina's thoughts whirled. Her mother had told her the eyes were her grandmother's. But what if they weren't? Before she could speak, Mama Zainab pulled a small gourd from her bag, smashed it against the ground, and shouted an incantation. The forest shuddered, literally shuddered, and the branches loosened just enough for her to grab Amina's wrist. "Run!" she cried. They sprinted through the narrow gap, branches clawing at their clothes. The man's angry howl followed them, but the trees didn't move to block their way this time. It was as if the spell had broken his hold over them. When they finally stopped to catch their breath, Amina rounded on her mother. "Why didn't you tell me? Who do these eyes really belong to?" Mama Zainab looked away, her voice soft. "If I told you, you might not have agreed to help me." "Mama, please," Amina begged. "Tell me the truth." Her mother's shoulders sagged. "They are not your grandmother's eyes. They belong to your father." The words hit Amina like a stone to the chest. "My father," she stammered. "But you said—" "I said what I had to," Mama Zainab interrupted, her voice breaking. "Your father is alive but trapped. Years ago, the Ajogan stole his eyes to punish him for breaking an oath. I took them to protect him, but I have not yet been able to free him." Amina's mind raced. She had never known her father. He had disappeared before she was old enough to remember. And all this time, he had been suffering. Before she could speak again, a loud crack split the air. The ground beneath their feet trembled, and from the forest behind them came the sound of branches snapping violently, as if something massive was forcing its way through. Then she heard it again, that same deep, hollow voice from the night before. "Give me my eyes." The Ajogan was coming, and this time it sounded closer than ever. The sound of the Ajogan's voice was like a cold wind blowing straight into Amina's bones. The trees shook as something heavy moved between them, the earth quivering with each step. Mama Zainab grabbed Amina's arm. "We must run," she urged. But before they could take more than a few steps, the shadow burst into view. It was bigger than before, taller than the tallest palm tree, its body made of swirling black smoke. 2 empty sockets gaped where eyes should have been, and from its mouth came a growl that shook the ground. Amina's legs refused to move. The Ajogan's long, clawed hand shot forward, swiping at the jewelry box. Amina stumbled back, clutching it tighter, but the force of the blow knocked her to the ground. Pain shot through her shoulder as the box rolled from her grasp and landed a few paces away. The Ajogan reached for it. "No!" Amina screamed, scrambling forward. But a wall of swirling black mist rose between her and the box, cold and sharp as knives. She tried to push through, but it burned her skin like fire. Mama Zainab pulled her back, her face twisted in fear. "Amina, listen to me. If it takes the eyes now, your father will be lost forever. Not even the elder of the hills will be able to save him." The Ajogan's shadow stretched over them like a storm cloud. "Child," it said in that low, hollow voice, "you cannot win. Give them to me, and I will spare you. Refuse, and you will wander in darkness forever." Amina's heart pounded. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her mind kept seeing her father, a man she had never met, trapped somewhere blind and alone. If she lost the eyes now, she would lose him forever. "Mama," she whispered, "I can't let it have them." Her mother's grip tightened. "Then you must do something I cannot." "What?" "You must call him." Amina blinked. "Call who?" "Your father. The bond between you is strong. If you speak to the eyes, his spirit may answer, and together you might have the strength to resist the Ajogan." The shadow was moving closer, each step rattling the ground. Amina swallowed hard, then dropped to her knees beside the box, ignoring the burning mist that stung her skin. She touched the lid, her voice shaking. "Father, if you can hear me, I'm your daughter. I'm here to save you. Please, I need your help." For a moment nothing happened. Then, the box grew warm beneath her palms. A faint light leaked from the edges, and she heard a voice, faint but clear, inside her head. "Amina, my brave child." The Ajogan roared, the sound like thunder. The black mist whipped around them, and Amina felt it pulling at her, dragging her toward the darkness. Her father's voice grew stronger. "Do not let go. No matter what happens, do not let go of the box." The shadow lunged, claws extended, and the ground beneath Amina split open into a gaping pit of swirling black smoke. She clung to the box with all her strength, even as the ground gave way beneath her feet. Then she felt herself falling. Amina's scream was swallowed by the darkness as she plunged into the pit. The air was thick, pressing against her chest, making it hard to breathe. She clutched the jewelry box tighter, feeling its warmth pulse like a heartbeat. Somewhere above, she heard her mother shouting her name, then nothing. The fall ended suddenly. She landed on something soft like a bed of thick moss. When she looked around, she realized she was no longer in the forest. The air here shimmered faintly, and everything glowed with a dim blue light. Before her stood a man. His face was familiar in a way that made her heart ache. The same eyes as hers, though his were empty sockets glowing faintly. His skin was thin, almost transparent, and he seemed to flicker like a candle in the wind. "Father," she whispered. He smiled faintly. "Yes, Amina. You have my eyes." She swallowed hard. "I came to return them. But the Ajogan." "I know," he interrupted, his voice calm. "It is here too. This place is between worlds. It traps all souls whose eyes it takes." A low rumble echoed in the distance. Amina turned to see the Ajogan's massive shape forming in the blue mist, its empty sockets glowing. Her father's voice was firm. "You cannot fight it with fear. You must fight it with light. That is the only thing the Ajogan cannot touch." But I don't have light, she said, panic rising. You do, he replied. It is inside you. It is in every word of truth you speak, in every act of courage you take. Think of the people you love. Think of why you came here. The Ajogan roared, charging toward them. Amina closed her eyes. She thought of her mother's strong hands guiding her through beadwork, of her father, who had suffered so long, and of the village where children still played barefoot in the dust. She thought of the life that would be lost if she failed. When she opened her eyes, her hands glowed with a golden light that spilled over the jewelry box. The Ajogan slowed, hissing, its smoky body recoiling from the brightness. Now, Amina, her father shouted. Open the box. She flipped the clasp. The lid sprang open, and the two human eyes shot upward, glowing brighter than the sun. The light poured over the Ajogan, burning away its shadowy form. It screamed, a terrible shrill sound, and began to dissolve into the blue mist. The ground trembled as cracks of light spread beneath Amina's feet. Her father reached out, his smile filled with pride. You've done it, my child. Now take me home. The light grew so bright that Amina had to shut her eyes. When she opened them again, she was lying on the forest floor, the jewelry box still in her hands, but it was empty. Her mother knelt beside her, relief flooding her face. Mama, I saw him, Amina whispered. He's coming home. But before her mother could answer, a sharp rustle came from behind them. They turned and froze. Out of the trees stepped the man in the green cloak, his eyes burning with greed. So, you weakened the Ajogan for me. Now hand over the box. The man in the green cloak stepped closer, his smile sharp and hungry. The trees behind him bent inward, as if the forest itself obeyed him. Amina's heart still pounded from her battle with the Ajogan, but she rose to her feet and stepped in front of her mother. You're not getting the box, she said, her voice steady. The man chuckled. Brave words for a girl who has already done my work. The Ajogan is weak now. All I need is that box, and I will hold the power of every trapped soul in my hand. Amina's grip tightened. You won't take my father again. His smile faltered. Your father's soul is useless to me now, but you, he tilted his head, studying her. You have touched the realm between worlds. That makes you valuable. Mama Zainab stepped forward, placing herself beside Amina. You will not touch my daughter. The man's eyes narrowed, and the ground beneath them began to tremble. Roots shot up from the soil, snaking toward their feet. Amina felt them coil around her ankles, pulling tight. Give me the box, he demanded. Her mind raced. She had no glowing light this time, no realm between worlds to call on. But she remembered her father's words. Light is in every act of courage and every word of truth. She looked straight into the man's eyes. You're afraid. He froze. What? You're afraid of the same light that destroyed the Ajogan, she said, raising her voice. That's why you want the box. You think power can protect you from it. But light doesn't come from things. Comes from people. From the truth. And you have none. The roots around her legs loosened, just slightly. The man snarled. Lies. No, she said firmly. Truth. She shut her eyes, focusing on the same warmth she had felt in the other realm. She thought of her father's smile, her mother's strength, her village's laughter. The warmth grew and grew, until she felt it spill out of her chest and into her hands. When she opened her eyes, the box was glowing again. The man staggered back, shielding his face. No, he hissed. Amina took a step forward, the light pushing the shadows away. Leave this place. Now. The man let out a final furious roar before dissolving into black smoke, which the wind carried away into the trees. The forest fell silent. Mama Zainab wrapped her arms around Amina. You've done it, my child. Amina opened the box. Inside, the eyes had returned, but they were no longer trapped. They glowed with gentle warmth. From the trees ahead, a figure appeared, her father whole and alive, his own eyes back where they belonged. He knelt before Amina, tears shining. "You saved me." The three of them embraced, and the forest seemed to breathe again. When they returned to the village, the people gathered in the square, listening as Mama Zainab told the story of the journey, the Ajogan, and the man in the green cloak. Amina stood beside her parents, the jewelry box closed for the last time. That night, the elders declared a new saying: "The greatest power is not in what you hold, but in the truth you keep." From that day forward, Amina was no longer called the quiet one. She was Amina the brave, the girl who carried light into the darkest place and brought her family home. And the jewelry box? It remained on the shelf empty, a reminder that some treasures are meant to be set free.